Welcome to Happy News Network, the Minisode. We're here to brighten your week while you take a break from doom scrolling. I'm Shayna, and today's guest was featured earlier this season in episode 6. He's taking soul food and putting his own vegan twist on cooking. TréShawn Legette, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
It's so good to meet you. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Before we even dive in, I see you've got some company swag on.
I do. I have my Flava Hut logo shirt on. So this was actually gifted to me by a mentor of mine here in Winston-Salem. I did a episode of her show that she does for her program, and she gave me this as a gift after the episode.
That is so sweet. So let's go back to the start of that culinary journey for you. Was cooking or food always a part of your life?
Well, I've been cooking since I was like 13 and I'm 23 now. Okay. So, yeah, it's been a part of my life for a long time. How did I start cooking? I think I just had like a interest in it even before I started cooking. Cause even before then, I remember being like 8, 9, 10, watching Food Network and being like, enthralled with the Food Network. So I've always, watch like food type of shows and things like that. So then like it just eventually came to that I knew that's kind of what I wanted to do, and not necessarily as a business. I just knew I wanted to cook when I was younger. So I used to ask my grandma, like, Grandma, can I cook this? Can I cook this? Whatever. And it turned into like, for me, cooking here and there. Like the first time I really remember cooking for real, for like people to really have was like one Thanksgiving. I made the mashed potatoes and I made them homemade. And then from there, I just kind of took it, further and further until event like in high school, I used to literally get off the bus, come home, get cleaned up and cook dinner. I would be cooking dinner like literally 3 or 4 days a week.
That's a really great, very personalized intro to cooking. And I feel like so many people in our age group grew up watching all those really cool Food Network shows, probably watched a little Top Chef maybe. And I just love that
I was a Chopped guy. I
love Chopped.
I loved Down Home with the Neelys, Big Daddy's Kitchen, and Sunny Anderson. She had Cooking for Real. So those were like my 4 top shows that I was always watching. And
it sounds like soul food, especially those influences, have always been really, really active in your cooking. And you definitely took cooking and made it part of your everyday life at a very young age. And I feel like that's how so many chefs get started.
Yeah, so I definitely like the homemade mashed potatoes. I want to say I saw either Sunny Anderson or the Neelys do that. So that's kind of like one I want. And then like one of my first recipes I tried that was from somebody else. It was like an oven baked chicken that was by the Neelys. So it was like the people I was watching, I kind of wanted to do what they did. And then like as I really grew into cooking, it came to a point where I didn't even need recipes. But yeah, like definitely those were like my big inspirations as far as like knowing what to cook. And even watching those shows, though, it wasn't necessarily for the how to cook. I normally watched it for like the ingredients. So they would be using things I never heard of. And I was like, I got to go to the store and get that because I have to cook with this now. So it was more so about the technique of cooking rather than like learning how to cook. For me, like I wanted to explore my range and stuff like that, and I wanted to kind of do what they were doing with the stuff they were doing it with.
That's so neat. So exploring the range, technique, sort of broadening the scope of knowledge for you, not so much learning just the recipe. Oh, that's so cool.
Exactly.
Because it sounds like you've definitely made a lot of your own recipes, and we'll dive more into that later, but you've definitely figured out how to make recipes on your own.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So how did you make the decision to go vegan?
So I stopped eating beef and pork in 2017. So I had a former friend of mine. She was just like, friend, I think I'm about to stop eating beef and pork. And I was like, I mean, why? And we kind of talked about it. I said, okay, I'm gonna do it with you. So from 2010, I have not had beef or pork since 2017. So then I would say around probably 2019, it was a lady popped up on my Facebook feed, and she was in her backyard, and she was just making like the Mexican street corn, but it was vegan. So she had like the vegan mayo and cheese sauce, and she was just talking. Like the whole time she was cooking, she was just talking. Like it kind of felt like we was having a conversation, but I didn't follow her page or anything like that. But I remember being enthralled with this video. Like this lady is like, it kind of just felt like I was talking to a friend, even though I was watching a video on my phone, right? She popped up on my Facebook feed again, and it turned out to be Tabitha Brown. Too, she's not a processed, food type of vegan. So she was doing stuff with whole foods that looked really, really good. So I'm like, I can do this. So January 2020, same friend that I stopped eating beef and pork with, she was sitting at my table eating a seafood boil, like literally crab legs, sausage, all that, sitting at my dining room table, right? And I'm telling her, I said, friend, I think I'm gonna go vegan. And she was like, what made you want to do that? And I'm telling her the story. And I said, it was a Saturday. I said, I think I'm gonna start Monday. And she was like, why not start right now? I was like, you know what, you're right. So I literally went in my cabinets, my refrigerator, everything that in my house that wasn't vegan got thrown in the trash. I went vegan completely cold turkey. And I have not looked back.
I am obsessed with that entire story. That is such a great story. And I think support systems are the best way to do it. I absolutely love that.
Thank you. Yeah. So, she was sitting, like I said, eating a seafood boil, telling me to go vegan. So I threw everything away. And then from then on, I just started really experimenting. And like I said, at this time, I hadn't even gotten to the vegan soul food aspect. So I had already kind of geared my mind towards, I was never going to be eating the foods I had got used to. Like I had never came across the vegan mac and cheese. At this time, I hadn't come across vegan mac and cheese. I hadn't come across, the Beyond Meat and none of that type of stuff. Right. So I want to say from about January to about July, I was a whole into meals and beans and mushrooms. I was summertime-ish, I had came across on Tabitha Brown's page a chef named Chef Joya, Cooking with Joya on Instagram. She's actually in my hometown right now of Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where she's based out of currently. And Tabitha Brown had posted her. So I went to her page and I was saying, oh, you could do this type of stuff. Like I didn't know nothing about vegan cheese. Literally nothing. I knew nothing of all these vegan products that was on the market, right? So it wasn't necessarily about getting her recipes, but she exposed. I was like, oh, it's vegan cheese, it's vegan deli meat, it's vegan. Like I didn't realize you could just go in the store and buy that type of stuff. So that kind of opened up my heart. I had never heard of Beyond Meat, had never heard of Impossible Meat, none of that type of stuff, right? So I'm like, oh, this stuff is really out here. So I remember the first soul food thing I did was like vegan chicken out of the Vital Wheat gluten. And I remember I gave it to my family and they was like, dang, this is good. Like, dang, this is better than the chicken we had at the restaurant that we went to, right? So just going forward with it. I was exploring my recipes more and more and more. And I wouldn't even say I create recipes, even though I do create recipes, but I don't sit down and be like, oh, I gotta add a pinch of this or a table. Like I just go in the kitchen, I do what I do, and it just comes out. And then when I write my recipes, I pretty much just give people like the ingredients that I use with a slight measurement, because I don't use my recipes as because I don't create a lot of now. My baking recipes, yes, but like my food recipes, you don't have to follow word for word, steps on step. I want you to take my food, like my regular stovetop or, recipes like that, and put your own twist on them. Or like, if you don't like onion powder and garlic powder, don't use it. Use something else. You want less salt, less, so my food recipes, like on the stovetop, I definitely make sure you have the meat and potatoes of it. But when it comes to the flavorings and stuff like that, unless it's like an ingredient, like let's say I'm making like I'm making like chickpea masala. You can't make chickpea masala without the gira masala. You know what I mean? So that type of stuff, some ingredients are mandatory, but a lot of my recipes, I try not to make things that are like, people have to stick by this and that, because I know that kind of discourages people away from cooking, but definitely vegan cooking, because this was a whole different realm. So I definitely try to make sure I was creating recipes for people that were easy to follow, ingredients are easy to find, stuff like that.
I think that's what makes everything you do so accessible. Like your videos are so fun to watch. Like everything you do, you're giving people a foundation, a canvas, and letting them sort of put the decorations in the house. You're not telling them how to decorate it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was always the goal for me. And I think that's why a lot of people kind of, like you said, like my page, because it's a fun page. It's not, and this is really my lifestyle. Like when I'm posting, all the music you hear on my page is not because I feel like that's what people gonna like. Because a lot of my music that I post on my page is not even current.
And I think there's something so unfiltered about your approach to cooking, and the fact that your content reflects your style so wholly is like, it's so rare, and it's also so wonderful to see.
Think that's because it's really like I don't get online like and be like, dang, what can I cook today? Or like I don't research things trying to be different. 9 times out of 10, if I posted something on my page, even if it's something you've never seen before, it's not like I went around looking for it. Like literally stuff, I'll be watching TV and something will pop in my head, like, you need to do this. And I'll go to the store and buy the stuff. Like, and I'll not even fully like, for instance, I'm working on this stuffed eggplant and I practiced it the other day. It didn't come out exactly how I wanted it, so I didn't post it. However, that type of recipe, it wasn't like I was around looking. I'm not even an eggplant eater. Like, it wasn't like I was walking around looking, the internet looking for an eggplant recipe to try. No, it just popped up in my head like, dang, a stuffed eggplant. So that's kind of how I operate.
Wow. And I want to talk about business for just a moment, because Flava Hut Foods is your company, and you've also got a cookbook out. And I do want to talk about that, because that's like the whole thing that I even started to follow you over. And so the Beginner's Dozen Cookbook Volume 1, it's a collection of soul food recipes that are fully vegan. What was your process developing some of those recipes? Like, where did some of those ideas come from, and how advanced are they for the everyday person compared to the more day-to-day stuff that you post?
Oh, those recipes are day-to-day recipes. It wasn't
Okay,
like
great.
I really, honestly, truly, when I started writing that cookbook, actually, no, all the pictures from that recipes from that cookbook, I hadn't even started Flava Hut yet when I did those recipes. So what happened was, on my personal page, like for my friends and stuff, I would just be posting on my story after I went vegan, like, because I've always been known as the cook among my friends. So once I went vegan, I just started posting my stuff on my stories. Or even before vegan, I used to post my food on my stories because my friends just love to see my food and stuff like that. And I hadn't even got to the point where I was, trying to do presentation and stuff like that. Yeah, I was just posting my plate on my Instagram story. And then I had eventually just started, people like, you need to have a highlight, little circle on your page of all your food. So that's what I was doing. I was posting stuff on my story for my highlight. So I hadn't even started Flava Hut when I did these recipes. I actually had to go back, look at the pictures of what I had, and decide on what recipes I wanted to put in the book. And then I just wrote the recipes from what I knew how to do. And then that's how it happened. I wasn't even in business yet when I wrote the book.
Wow.
Well, I was in business when I wrote the book, but I wasn't in business when I developed the recipes.
So when did the business come into play?
September of 2020. I was just scrolling through Twitter, Instagram, and stuff like that, and I had constantly seen people in my area selling food, Alfredo's, chicken wings, real salmon, the stuff people like to make. And I'm like, dang, I'm vegan. All this food be, out here, people making money off of it, or, people out here selling plates, but it's never a vegan option. Like, not even an option. Like, your whole menu is full of meat, dairy, and everything else. I'm like, I got to do this for the vegans. So, I actually hit up one of my vegan mentors, and her name is Sunny Speaks. And I was like, hey, I'm thinking about selling food. I made the vegan ribs that you posted. Of course, I put my own twist and love into them. Would you mind me doing vegan ribs? And I asked her because, anybody can do a vegan rib. You know what I mean? But I felt like that was something I learned from her page. I felt like Sunny, taught me something new, and it would be ill of me to try and do it on my own without permission, because I didn't realize how vast the vegan community was. And so I got enthralled in it, but I didn't want it to be like, oh, he's stealing something from somebody else and, trying to take it on his own. Now, my rib recipe is my rib recipe, but, just like anything else, you do your research and you develop it as your. So I felt like that was part of my research, and I didn't want to try to take credit for something that wasn't mine fully. But it's not like her recipe that I said, this is my recipe, let's be clear. But, she gave me the inspiration. So I wanted to ask, and that's how it started. So my first plate sale in September was the vegan ribs, and I did vegan barbecue pork sandwiches. And then I had collard greens, candy yams, mac and cheese, and cornbread. And from there, it took off. Like my first order I did, my first pop-up was like 15, 16 orders. My very first time out the gate. From there, it just kind of took off. So I actually went from Winston. I went back to my hometown and did it. I did the ribs. And then instead of the pork sandwiches, I did vegan chicken wings. So it's just like, it's been amazing. But that's how business started. Like I was just looking around like, y'all not feeding us. Y'all not catering to vegans. Like we out here, we want to eat and we want to eat good. And then the little options that we have in Winston are okay, but it's like options. It's not like it's only like one full vegan restaurant in Winston that I'm aware of. And then it's a vegan food truck who's here like 1 or 2 days a week. But it's not like restaurants are really out here catering to us. So I think that was a big play in that too. Like I brought something new to the market and it's been amazing. Like I've been doing business at a bodega down here. And when I walk in a bodega, they be like, I'm instantly recognized like from Flava Hut Foods. Cause for my events, for my pop-ups and stuff, they be like, oh, best vegan chef in town around. I be like, y'all need to start gassing me like that. But like people really do be recognizing me from my food and from my page and stuff now.
I love that. And I mentioned before we started recording this that I went to college in Winston-Salem. And it's part of why I was so drawn to your story. I sort of always grew up phasing out meat with each, era of life. And now I only eat the occasional seafood or egg. And I love what you're saying about Winston-Salem has great food, but it's in their boom and in their modernization and their growing. They're starting to recognize vegans, but you're going to push them over the edge. Yeah,
exactly. But they're not. So one of my goals is to definitely have my own spot out here.
I don't know if you saw the drool when you were describing the orders. I just like the idea that there is vegan barbecue, there's pulled pork, there's cornbread, and it's meant to be eaten as a meal together.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. So I mean, everything I do, like I do the vegan birria tacos. That's like my second. People always requesting those. And I be like, look, y'all have to don't cook these joints because those take forever. Those are a lot of labor, but it's a labor of love. But they be asking for those. People love my macaroni and cheese, especially.
I'm gonna just camp outside, and then the second the tacos are ready, I'll just knock.
Yeah, like people. That was actually the last pop up I did was the birria tacos, and I served them with yellow rice that I did. Ooh. That was the last one. I'm working on another one for I'm thinking Mother's Day weekend. I want to do one this month too. I'm trying to get to the point where I could do my pop-ups more often, but this it's really about jumping off the porch. Like I'm still trying to, gear it up to where when I am popping up, I'm making enough money that supports my lifestyle. You know what I mean? So that's why I still work outside.
You've really sprouted up. Not overnight, but very quickly when you think about your journey. So
yeah, it's definitely been out of nowhere. Like sometimes I think about it, I'm like, dang, like this is not really what I want it to be. But then I have to sit back and think like, you ain't even been in business 6 months yet. So like
you have so much to be proud of.
Yeah, April 15th will be 6 months. And I'm like, you put a cookbook out 3 months after your business started and it sold 111 copies. Like, I think you're okay. Like, I think you're doing something right.
I would agree. And I would certainly encourage you to keep doing more because you're so passionate about what you do. And you also make it fun and it's your personality in your food.
Like I refine my recipes and stuff like that, but I don't mind getting on my Instagram live and being like, okay, y'all, I'm finna try something for the first time and y'all gonna try it with me.
That's great.
They love that. So I even get comments in my love, like, I love how you're not scared to try something in front of us. For what? When I'm gonna be scared?
What's there to be afraid of? It's food.
what I'm scared of. If it don't come out right, what's gonna happen? I'll get on there and do anything.
Oh my gosh. So do you have upcoming, I know you've got some upcoming pop-ups planned. Do you have other upcoming cookbooks coming up? And where can people follow you?
It's actually the next cookbook. Really, really just got to buckle down and I want it out by June. I have merchandise coming out soon. I'm working on my official website. I have spice blends that I'm working on.
That is so exciting.
Yeah,
that is so exciting.
Spice blends have been around actually a good while. I've sent like samples to other chefs and stuff like that and home cooks who have tried them. So even some of my friends have had them and they're like, dang, these are really, really good. They're all salt free. And they just have a lot of flavor. So I'm excited about that. I'm moving, I'm moving more towards like get myself together to do like private dinners and stuff for like couples and families, catering orders, like, you know, small ones for like a grand opening or like a small wedding or something like that for the time we're in. Yeah, there's a lot of this really trying to further hone my craft and really, you know, just be the best chef I can be.
Oh, I absolutely love that. So if somebody watching this wants to follow you, where can they find you on social media?
So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Flava Hut Foods. That's FLAVAHUTFOODS. And then I'm on Facebook as Flava Hut Foods LLC.
TréShawn Legette, thank you so much for being here today. You are so inspirational, and I cannot wait to see what else you are bringing to the world.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time. Thank y'all for reaching out. I was very excited to do this. So thank you so much.
Well, from all of us here at Happy News Network, I'm Shayna. Have a happy day.